The last thing that I want to talk with you about, of course, is lens options. This, of course, uses Sony's E-mount, which right now, that's one of the downsides to Sony's mirrorless camera system, is that, if you're comparing like someone like, say, Olympus or Panasonic, which of course use the Micro Four Thirds system, there's just way more lenses to choose from. So the only downside now is on the Sony lens selection is that, well, there's just not that many lenses right now. As more time goes on, we'll no doubt see more lenses. However, there are still some very exciting things to choose from right now, particularly like Sony's new 24mm 1.8 Zeiss lens, which I wish I had in my hands right now to show you guys, but unfortunately I don't. Whenever I get one of those available to me, I will certainly be taking a closer look at it. I'm going to go ahead and take the lens off here. Even though there aren't very many E-mount lenses to choose from right now, there's actually a lot of adapters out there for this camera. So you can use practically any manual focus SLR or rangefinder lens on this camera. Mostly due in part to the fact that the Sony E-mount has a very small flange distance, and what that means is basically the distance between the sensor and the mount is so small that any other lens or camera lens system is actually greater than that. So you can basically adapt just about any lens to this mount. So I have a lot of Nikon manual focus lenses, and so I definitely hope to get my hands on a Nikon adapter at some point. And since all those older lenses have an aperture ring, you don't really have to worry about any type of electronic communication issues. So hopefully I'll get my hands on one of those adapters. I don't have any third-party adapters right now, but I do have Sony's new lens adapter for the alpha mount lenses. Let's see here. Refocus again. This is their E2 adapter. The original version of this adapter, worked out okay. The autofocus system was kind of limited. This one improves on that a lot, mostly because it uses Sony's translucent mirror technology. Basically what you have here is, let's see, we'll take the caps off. It has a cute little sticker to tell you not to put your fingers on the mirror in here. Okay, so basically what you have is, you can see it's kind of hard to film, but there's actually a translucent mirror inside this mount. There you go, you can kind of see it right there. So basically it works exactly like the setup on Sony's SLT cameras, like for example say the SLT A65. You have your light passing through the mirror to actually go directly to your sensor, and then the mirror in here is actually it's at an angle, at about this angle right here. And so what's happening is most of the light is passing through the mirror and going to the sensor, but a little bit of the light is reflecting off the mirror and going right down there to the bottom, which is where you have the same 15-point focus sensor as like the A65. So by using this adapter, you actually end up with phase detect autofocus, which is the faster autofocusing system that let the SLR and SLT cameras use, which is very impressive. The other thing this adapter does for you is, let's see here. Oh yeah, it's on this side. Duh, Jeremy. It actually has a built-in focus motor, and it has a mechanical focus couple right there, which will actually allow you to have autofocus with screw-driven A-mount lenses, which is something else that's very nice. I'm going to go ahead and put this on the camera body here. Please excuse the focus going in and out a little bit. I'm having to do the review and be the camera operator at the same time. You'll notice that on the bottom of this there's also a tripod mount, because obviously all of your A mount lenses are going to be larger than any of the E mount lenses, so whenever you use those, the whole setup is going to be a bit more front heavy, so you're not going to be able to use the mount on the tripod mount on the camera. You'll want to use the one that's right here on the adapter. For the sake of demonstration, I have Sony's very excellent 24-70-2.8 Zeiss lens. So we'll go ahead and just fit this on here, like that. Okay. So you can see what that's like. It does look just slightly ridiculous having such a large lens on such a tiny body, but in using it, it actually works out very, very well. Let's see here, we'll get this turned on. One thing that I did notice is that the focusing system is extremely fast whenever using this setup. So that's one thing. Let's see here. You can see. I have no idea what I'm focusing on. But you can see that the focus is very, very fast. You're basically adding the phase detect focus of an SLR to your mirrorless camera now. So it performs very, very well. I will say that I certainly wouldn't go out of my way to buy this adapter and buy the camera, and then buy A mount lenses. Of course I don't think that's necessarily what Sony's going for here. However, if you do already have A mount lenses and you decide to add an E mount mirrorless camera to your arsenal, I can see getting the adapter for that sort of situation, so that way you can have some interchangeability between the systems. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely not something you'd probably want to just buy to use straight away. You'd probably end up going to an SLT camera like an A77 or A65 first, but if you already have one of those cameras and you want to have something a little smaller and still use some of the larger lenses as well, then this adapter makes perfect sense. Works very well. The only downside, other than the obvious bulk all this adds, is the fact that the adapter is actually quite expensive, which really doesn't surprise me from a technical standpoint. I mean, this adapter is essentially like having, it's like essentially the mirror box of a SLT A65. So that doesn't surprise me when, from a technical standpoint, the cost on this is $399. So definitely not inexpensive. Which on the camera itself, on the NEX-7, let's see, let me grab my little notes here. I can't remember these numbers sometimes. On the NEX-7, you're looking at $1199 for the body only, and you're looking at $1349 in a kit with the 18-55 lens. So definitely not a inexpensive camera. A lot of people have asked me so far, who in their right mind would spend that much money on a mirrorless camera? And I don't think it's going to be, every day, just people wanting to take really good photos. Sony is definitely going for more of an enthusiast crowd with this camera. So people that already have higher end DSLRs, and even like myself, I'm actually considering this camera, just because I can use it with my Nikon lenses, a lot of the older manual focus glass I have, And of course, the Nikon 1 is definitely not, I mean, it's a good camera, but it's not going the route of the enthusiast for sure. So for me, or for users like me, I think that something like the NEX-7 makes a lot of sense. I've also been impressed with the speed of this camera. It can do 3.7 frames. Okay, I really need to get some bigger cards. Anyways, continuing on. As I was saying, this camera is definitely aimed more towards the enthusiast crowd. I mean, it's not something that I feel most just everyday users will end up going with. One of the other things I do like about it though is the speed. Of course, it's a 24 megapixel camera. It's capable of 3.7 frames a second with the AF enabled, which is pretty fast. It can even do that in RAW. You think about something like a Nikon D3X. If you shoot in 14-bit RAW mode with that camera, I mean that's a $8,000 DSLR, and it can only do just slightly over 2 frames a second in 14-bit RAW. And now we have a $1,200 camera, a $1,200 mirrorless camera nonetheless, that's actually able to do 3.7 frames a second in 14-bit RAW. So that's very impressive. And it can actually do 10 frames a second without the AF, which I suppose if you have a subject that's moving parallel to you and not really changing distance between, you're not really changing the distance between them and the camera too much, that could still be useful. So yeah, definitely nice to have some options there. I intend to do a lot more shooting with this camera in the coming weeks, so definitely check back with me. I'm going to post some samples as well, so be on the lookout for that. If you'd like to continue to watch my reviews and perhaps even look at my photography a bit, you can follow me on Twitter at PhotogJTheGreat, or just visit my site jsmith-photography.com. Thanks for everyone's time today, and definitely write me some comments. I'd love to hear all your suggestions. Take care.